Great decorating is all about the details, including a gorgeous textured set of coasters. How we love a coaster. Functional. And why not be beautiful? Quince has a gorgeous set of woven rattan coasters in 3 terrific colors with their own little holder that you're going to absolutely love. And if you haven't visited quince.com/DTT yet, get on over there. It's everyday elevated living without the markup. From crisp 100% linen bedding and soft organic cotton towels to airy curtains and premium kitchen tools designed for everyday use. And the best part? Like Quince's clothing, their home goods are half the cost of similar brands. By partnering with top artisans, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Elevate your space with home essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. Be a dynamic duo. Hey everybody, I'm Kelly Wilkness here with Anita Joyce, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. Today we're going to be discussing how to decorate with a partner. So how to decorate as a duo. It can be challenging. I'm sure it can be rewarding. And it really depends on the personalities, I guess, on how well it's going to go.
Did you ever watch that show on HGTV called Designing for the Sexes?
No, I never watched it. Did
What?
you?
What? Stop it. Okay, that's what I kept thinking about when I was preparing for this. I was thinking about the show Designing for the Sexes, and it had actually 3 different hosts, but I only saw it with Michael Payne, but then Susan Hunt and Rick Rifle hosted. It was from 1998 to 2011, and it was called
that's a long time.
I know. It was called Designing for the Sexes, and it was about couples where they had very different opinions about what should be done with the house. And he would come in, like a marriage counselor with swatches and kind of get them all on the same page.
I mean, honestly, we often feel like, a counselor, a negotiator, a safe space for people to discuss their decorating wants and needs, whether it be in our consults. We do that a lot, or I know I do it with my clients. There's often 2 different opinions, and sometimes people don't even know what the other person really likes until you really get into the heart of it.
Well, if you have a spouse that doesn't care, be very, 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 very happy about that. Because I'm just telling you, it is so much easier. If that person does not care, you can do what you want. The more opinions that person has, the more negotiating, the more difficult the process. It's kind of like cooking with too many chefs in the room. It's just going to spoil the soup. So it is hard to make it work when both people are trying to create their own vision. So I don't know what happens when there's 2 designers working together, but again, if your spouse doesn't care, then just you probably don't need this episode, but you'll enjoy it anyway.
Whether it's a spouse or even a roommate or a partner or anybody you're living with. I mean, it could be if you moved back in with your kids or something like that.
That's true.
Anybody who's sharing a space. If you have wildly different aesthetics and design sensibilities, it can be really difficult to find that middle ground where everybody's happy. And there's the interplay of the personalities in decorating and renovation can be tricky to handle. There's a lot of compromise, which may even be a harder word or reality to deal with than the nasty word budget. So compromise is something that a lot of people aren't comfortable with, or their definition of compromise is not the other person's definition of compromise. So we're going to talk to you today about some tips and some ways to get to that happy place where everybody's feeling happy and comfortable in the space together. So today's tips are going to be for seasoned relationships or new relationships or even just new situations that you may find yourself in, either with a roommate or a adult child moving back into the house or things like that. So you can apply these to any relationship where you're going to be living in a space together and you want to do some freshening up, some decorating, or even some renovation, which is even more challenging because that isn't even just focused on design choices or aesthetic or styles. It's hard to live through a renovation.
I remember the wallpaper project. That was it for us. I realized that room was way too small for two very angry engineers.
Oh my gosh, right?
And that was the end of the home DIY for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but not the end of the marriage. So that was good.
No, that's right.
Yeah, our dual DIY came to a screeching halt in a very small bathroom that we were painting.
See, ours was the small bathroom too. What was
it'd be better to have bigger spaces. Peter looked over his shoulder and he was like, "I will never do this again."
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe that's why our marriages have survived so long, because we had this early on, these small bathroom experience where we both looked at each other and said, "I love you, but not in this room."
Yeah. And not with a paintbrush in my hand.
No. So there you go. That's another tip right there.
So aside from treading lightly when it's DIY, even if you're just talking about having different styles, his Pinterest board would look like this. Her Pinterest board would look like that. Even if you start with clashingly different looks and styles, you can meld it into a lovely combination that enhances what you both like. So merge it. And yes, you're going to have to compromise a little bit. The top tip is that your decor should not be driven by your ego. And it also should not be driven by what you're seeing on Instagram. Try to pull your ego out of it and look at it as, how are we going to make this space beautiful, functioning well for us, and where we're both going to feel happy.
Right. Very much so. Learn where you are agreeing. I think that's a good place to start, and it starts things on a positive note, is try to go through everything and find out areas where you agree. And then you can kind of cross those off so that you don't really have to deal with those areas. So that would be good to know. Do you have the same style? Do you like the same colors? Are you going at least in the same direction? Because that also kind of gives you the starting point of where you need to begin. Because if you like the same colors, same style, then I'd say this is much easier down the road. But if he likes dark, moody colors and you want something bright and white, then we've got a problem, because you're going to have to, you can't have both, at least not in the same room. So you're going to have to come together on that.
Yeah. And you really do have to embrace the concept of compromise and accept that some of your items are just not going to make the cut. And this comes into play a lot when people are moving from two different places. So if you're merging households, go through your house, maybe initially by yourself or your apartment, whatever it is, and really look with an objective eye at a lot of the pieces. Maybe you can't bring every item that has sentimental value to you and then display it. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of your stuff. Maybe you've got a bin you could keep it in or something like that. But, we don't want you to have a ton of storage, or certainly not paying for storage to keep stuff that you're not going to be using. But cull it out. Maybe do that privately initially. And then maybe you could walk through each other's homes before you come together and then say, this is great. I love that. Let's bring that. And you can feel good about what you're bringing to the table, so to speak, what you're bringing to the new place that you're going to share. So it doesn't have to be completely new for everyone, or it doesn't have to be completely, and it shouldn't be completely devoid of personality, but you can't just be so heavy on one personality. It has to be a shared space where both people, or all the people, depending on who it is, feel that they have some skin in the game, that this is their home too. You don't want anyone to feel like they're just perching in a place.
That just reminded me of, you remember the bridge show As Time Goes By, right? Did you watch that?
Wow, I obviously am not watching enough.
Well, this is from like the 90s. I mean, it was so long ago, but it's two people that come back. They dated when they were young. They kind of lost touch. They come back together 38 years later. It was just kind of made me think of what you're saying. You want both people to feel comfortable with the design. And I remember when I went through my chintz phase and, you know, everything was very chintzy. And I was told I don't like florals.
Mm.
So that was, the word from Kevin. I don't like florals. And of course, he chose to tell me that when our house was full of florals, floral fabric. But see, that was but I appreciated him saying, at least being very clear, because, if he just said it's too foofy, I wouldn't have known what to do with that. But when he specifically said it's the floral fabrics that I'm not crazy about, well, I didn't just go throw everything out then, but I made a mental note. And then as I bought new things, I did not buy floral fabrics. And at some point, then we basically went to a point where we had 0 floral fabrics in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that to make him happy. And then when I added some back in, I just made sure that they were in some places where he wasn't hanging out. So that's just something that you can do. And so if there's something that your partner doesn't like, I think it's easy to kind of think of things like that. And, just kind of maybe if like for the florals, I think I could have had them like in a guest room even back then, and he would have been fine with it. So he just didn't want so many, everywhere.
And budget is something that it's not fun. And like compromise, it can be a little challenging. But that's something that may also sort of curate the universe for you. If somebody wants to buy all new, let's riff off Anita's all new floral, chintz, fabrics, and draperies and all of that. But the budget is not going to allow for that. That can put a rein in on that style. And if the other person wanted to go all dark and moody and leathery or industrial style, and the budget doesn't allow for all new stuff, it's going to rein in that look. So focus on what the budget is, along with your compromising, and then make purchases together that are smart purchases for the budget. So say you're coming together and you're moving into a new place and you need a new bed. Well, that's going to cost you a nice chunk of your budget. And so choose that together. Maybe the sofa. So choose the bigger foundational pieces that work within the budget and do those together. And then maybe you can rift off on smaller items and have a little bit more autonomy over choosing those. But I think the budget really can hone it in rather than just feeling like you can run with a style and spend a whole lot of money on the fluffy stuff. The budget might just pull it all in a little bit and give you a good foundation. And these are foundation pieces. And then to start with for building your home together. Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. So have you tried Dupe yet? If you haven't, come on, dupe.com. It is going to be your new shopping best friend. And it's not just for furniture. I know I've shared with you about my coffee table dupe, but you can save money with Dupe on fashion, shoes, jewelry, and more. I just used Dupe to find an absolute perfect twin of this t-shirt that I wanted. It was an $80 t-shirt. I was not going to pay $80 for a t-shirt. Dupe helped me find the twin, like maybe the exact same shirt. Find something you love, and then you can find replicas, twins, and maybe the exact thing for so much less. Give Dupe a try today. It is really so easy to use. You just type dupe.com / before any product URL in your browser, and voila! It instantly finds you less expensive alternatives. They even have an app and a browser extension you can download. No account is required. No sign up is required. It is completely free. I know, can you believe it? But it is completely free to use. Stop wasting money on brand names and start saving with dupe.com today.
Another thing to think about is how you frame these differences. So rather than seeing it as a negative, rather than seeing it as a frustration, think of it as a challenge or a game or a puzzle that you're trying to solve. And you're the detective, and your job is to find something that you're both happy with. And so if you see the problem as the differences rather than your partner being the problem, then I think that helps you come up with a better solution. So again, it's part of that. Don't take it personally. Don't see this as an attack on your design aesthetic, but think of it as a problem that you're solving together, or a challenge that you're both working on, or like a mountain that you're climbing together.
You can also come together and select the limited color palette that we love. Choose colors that everybody likes. There's a multitude of ways that you can put together a lovely color palette. And if you're using the limited color palette that we suggest, which is usually 3 colors, maybe a little accent color. So maybe each person gets to pick a color, and then you compromise and find a color that you like for the third one. And then you've developed this whole palette, which is going to flow through the whole space together. And then even if it's an item that somebody is not, I would have picked a different chair, but that's my palette color. And I feel good about that because I want that color in the space. So color can really help.
How about this? Choose your battles. You're just not going to get 100% of what you want. So you really need to choose the things that are most important to you and let the other things go.
And discuss how the rooms are going to function and what the purpose of each room is going to be. It might be abundantly obvious, but it's worth walking through the space together and figuring that out, prioritizing with both interests in mind. So walk through the space and figure out how each person wants to live in the space. And then in doing that, you may be able to carve out some independent areas, whether it's when I put Peter in the closet and offered him an office there, or that didn't seem like much of a compromise. But hey, in fairness, I had no office then. So he had a closet office, but I had nothing. So, come on. It might sound like it was tilted my way, but it really wasn't. I'm just giving up a closet for him.
You're such a giving person, Kelly.
I am a giver. So if you go through all of the spaces and say you've got a home with maybe an extra guest room or something like that, maybe you decide together, how many guests do we really want, or how many guests are we really going to have? Maybe we make this into one or the other person's office, and then maybe there's another area that can be the other person's office, or it doesn't even have to be an office. It could just be a place where you can design it the way you want it, and that would allow your creativity to flow exactly the way you want it to in that room. And if you're listening to Decorating Tips and Tricks, obviously you love decorating, you love design, you're very vested in your spaces and how that makes you feel. So it's very nice if you can have a place that really is reflective of you and you can let your creativity go. You can paint it whatever color you want and you don't have to compromise. But that's not going to be possible in every home, apartment, condo. But if you do have that ability, then I would really think carefully about how you're going to use each room and whether or not you can find even a small area, such as a closet, to carve out for each person to have their own individual space.
Well, right. And another thing I was thinking about is just trying to find solutions that are win-win for both. A solution that actually both people can live with and are happy with. And my best example on that is the recliner, because that seems to be one of the biggest issues men and women have. Men love them, women hate them.
When is that going to end? I mean, this has been since Archie Bunker, right? And now so maybe there was a caveman who had like a reclining rock. When is that going to stop? How many consults have we had where the person says, that brown thing or the black thing has to stay?
Mm-hmm. Right. So what I was thinking, so for example, on this one, there are so many beautiful recliners now. I can't believe that came out of my mouth, but it is actually true. It's not like the old Archie Bunker days. So if you are with somebody who has to have a recliner, you're not stuck with the big clunky thing with the big arms, with the handle on the side, with the ugly fabric and the cup holders. You
don't say cup holders. Somebody got mad at us for saying cup holders.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if that person is listening, I'm sorry. Cup holders have to
Anyway, what I am suggesting is that you could go for a sleek, slim design with a high-end fabric that does not have the pulley or the arm, whatever that handle thing is on the side. It doesn't
controls.
Have that. What?
It's the controls.
Oh, well, see, I'm going old school where it has the handle. Yeah, I guess now it's all electronic. But, just
But it's like a stick shift car. It's still the control.
If it has, don't get those. So just get one that does not look like a recliner when it's not reclined. And there are some very high-end ones. So check it out. And I think you would be okay with something like that. And maybe it's not as comfortable, but hey, it's a recliner. So maybe that would work for both of you. So there's a lot of solutions like that, I think, where you want two different things, but there's something that I think will work for both of you.
Well, I think in many states, the recliner is grounds for divorce. So
is it? Well,
if you really can't find a good one, you can always go that route. Visuals. Now, this may be something you find with your significant person, your roommates, whoever, or something that you just find in general with people. I know I find it often with clients where I'm explaining something, but they're not 100% visualizing it in their mind when I'm speaking about it orally. So using visuals is really important to stay on track and have the person understand what your vision is. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to force someone who has never been on Pinterest or has no interest in creating a mood board to do any of those things. So it can be screenshots on your phone. It can be tear sheets from a magazine. It can be going to a place and looking, or it can be like, hey, remember that Airbnb we stayed in Carmel? I really liked the bathroom there. Oh yeah, me too. That sort of thing. So you need to get visual cues, and not even a cue, but you need to give visuals to the other person so they understand where you're going, what's in your mind. Because I find often in the oral communication that you think somebody gets it, they think they get it, but then you get your bathroom put in and they're like, what? That's not what I thought you were going to do, right? So I think it takes a lot of the mystery out of it. And some people are just much better at visualizing something than another person. And on the other side of that coin, some people are much better at explaining things and explaining with words what their vision is than other people. So take the mystery out of it and either go to places together to take a look, make the effort to get photos, present them. You can do a Pinterest board, obviously, if everybody's on board with that or if somebody's willing to look at it with you. So all of those are good ways to communicate what your vision, style, ideas, or inspiration are.
That's a good point about the visualizing, because you may be able to visualize things, but maybe your partner can't visualize it. So that is a good point. You may have a better feel for how it's going to look later. So here's a situation that happened with us, which brings me to my next point, which is determine how strongly your spouse feels about his ideas, because just because he has an idea may not mean it's important to him. So I used to discuss things with Kevin like, oh, I think I'm going to do this or that. And he would come up with ideas. And he so seldom interfered with anything I was doing. I felt like, he thinks I should do this thing. And I know that's not really the best look in here. It's not my vision, but I'm going to try, but I want it to be his house too. So I would do the thing. And this happened more than once. I can't even remember. So I'm just going to call it the thing. So we would I put the thing in the room, and then he would come by later and I'd think, oh, he's going to notice I did the thing, that he wanted. And then he'd walk right past the thing. And I'm like, you didn't notice the thing. Do you see the thing that I did?
Yeah.
And of course, the whole time I'm thinking, it doesn't really look very good, but he should be happy. But I want him to be happy. He's going to be happy. He looks over at it. He goes, well, that doesn't really work out well in this room. And I'm like, but it was your idea. And he goes, my idea? He said, I was just making conversation. He said, I didn't think you were actually going to do it.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So I'm like, so at some point I realized, oh, he's just making conversation. So I would just kind of got to the point where I would nod my head. Or if I was concerned, I might ask, are you just throwing out ideas, or is this something you really, really want?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great point, because, somebody just might be brainstorming with you and you don't really know that.
That's right. So sometimes he does have ideas, or, like, I really need a chair here, or don't get rid of that chair. I need a table here. And, I definitely work with those. It's usually more functional, but occasionally it's like, I really like this, whatever. And so don't get rid of this thing.
Right.
But you do have to tell me, because things do go out the door without warning at times.
Including chairs, from what I hear. So getting back to something Anita mentioned at the beginning, that it's the gold standard of duo decorating if your partner has no opinions. But that can be problematic too, because it really isn't fair. And that's what I wanted to talk about, is that I have somebody who's very easygoing. I think in the beginning I did impose a lot more of my style, look, and maybe was just a little too froofy. My style has evolved, obviously, everyone's does, over a long period of time.
Mine's less froofy too. I think that's a sign of the times too.
Yeah, but when you look at a room and you think, I bet that other person isn't 100% comfortable in here. So you do have to be
a little too many ruffles, perhaps?
Yeah, you do have to be mindful of that if you are fortunate enough to have a partner who's just like, here, go for it. Do whatever you want. I don't really care. Because at some level, they do care. Like, if at some level they have to perch on the chairs because they're all little French chairs, or they don't have a place to
Hey, now. Let's not attack the French chair.
Just came to mind. Or they don't have a place to put their computer, or, you did put them in a closet and made them work there for hours. That's not fair. So don't take advantage of a person who claims to have no opinions, because they will have some feeling, whether or not it's a strong opinion or not, about their living space. So don't be like, okay, great, you don't care. Well, here I go. So be mindful of that, because at the end of the day, you want the other person to be comfortable and happy and feel like it's their home as well. Now, if you're having a really hard time, and this normally happens when two people have very strong design aesthetics and they're trying to come together, if you're really having a difficult time, I would suggest you hire a decorator, even if it's just for an hour or two. And we can reference back to a recent episode of ours about 45 minutes with a decorator. Sometimes that's all you need, is someone to be the third party, somebody to not necessarily be the arbiter between your two styles. Like, okay, for the sofa, I'm going to go with this person, and for the dining table, I'm going to go with that person. Not that sort of thing, but for a person who is educated in the design world, can take the bigger picture of the whole area, the whole home, the apartment, condo, whatever it is, and see it sort of an aerial view and with some objectivity, and is not going to be vested in certain items like, I don't know, a trophy, or, a painting that someone's mother painted or something like that. Somebody who can just bring to the table some ideas on compromise, and ideas that the two people maybe have not even considered. Maybe you don't use either one of your art and you sell it and you get new art. Something that is going to kind of help you get through the challenging aspects of living with compromise.
And my last idea is to have about 3 to 5 vetoes for each person, because there may be something that you just cannot stand. In no world can you live with, the stuffed gorilla in the corner. Each person can be allowed some veto votes, but just use them judiciously. And I think, obviously each person gets the same number.
Along the same lines, maybe you come up with a plan where not every decision needs to be a group or duo decision, because sometimes that just causes a stoppage. You can't move forward because everybody's got to ring in on every single thing. So maybe there are a few smaller items that you can just buy and try. Make sure you got a good return policy from wherever you're getting it. And that may also be a situation where someone can't visualize it until it gets in the space and they don't know. So that might be a good way to come up with items that will move the whole process forward and everybody could be happy with, or maybe just even kind of sneak in something you really like. So what are we defining today?
Today we are defining Japanning. So this is a technique developed in Europe that imitates the lacquering applied to Asian furniture. Japanning was popular in the 18th century in Europe, and they used it to finish and ornament wood, leather, tin, and paper mache to make it look like Japanese lacquer work. Specifically, black Japan was amongst the most widely used traditional Japanning materials, and it's a mixture of molten asphalt, natural resin, varnishes, drying oils, and turpentine. And so that's probably what you see if you look for Japanning on the internet, that you're probably going to see the black Japan. And I'm not sure they use the same materials today, but that is what they used to use.
Interesting. My Crush is a wonderful book that I have been enjoying. 100 Herbs to Grow by Jekka McVicker. She is the absolute queen of herbs and growing herbs and propagating herbs. She's been doing it for 40 plus years. She's a British woman. She is delightful. I've listened to her on a number of gardening podcasts, and I recently bought the book. It's a really thick book with beautiful photographs and wonderful descriptions of the 100 top herbs that she would be growing. And herbs are a wonderful thing to add to your garden. Not only are they absolutely best friends with the pollinators, but also just a few clippings of herbs can really transform a meal. So you can use it. Pollinators love it. You let them bolt and flower. They'd be gorgeous in your garden. So I highly recommend this book, and it'll be linked in the show notes. What's your crush, Anita?
Well, I actually went with one of your previous crushes, or I don't know.
Wait a minute, you're copying my crush? I don't know if that's allowed.
If it was a crush, but it's a company that you mention all the time, Half Price Drapes.
Oh.
Did you know that they sell some of their drapes on Amazon?
I did know that.
Okay, so I found on Amazon their velvet curtains in Denmark blue, and it is the most beautiful, soft blue, and just a gorgeous color. I did try the Avalon blue, but that ended up being a very dark teal. I ended up having to return those. Didn't like those, but the Denmark blue has my vote. It is super beautiful, and I'm really excited about them. I'm putting them in my living.
The quality's great, right?
Oh, yes. They're lined and very heavy. You'll be surprised how much you get for your money. And it seems like they're even cheaper on Amazon than they are on the other websites.
And they may be because of the Amazon rules and whatnot. I don't know. I think they really put the sellers through the ringer there. But
they do.
Anyway, okay. Well, this was fun. Hope everybody got some good ideas.
It was. And so, and this is interesting. We've never covered this topic before. So this was very fun to do. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time.
Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.